Hi there, Misha Gill with Speedwell Law. Today I'm going to talk about a case that spans decades of grief, unresolved judgment, and a family still trying to claim what a court once promised them. That's Fred Goldman, Ron Goldman's father, and his claim against OJ Simpson's estate. Back in 1997, a civil court in California found OJ Simpson liable for the wrongful deaths of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. The jury awarded the families $33.5 million in damages. Simpson never paid. Over the years, judgment renewals in California and interest have caused the total amount owed to balloon dramatically. Fred Goldman, representing his son's estate, filed a creditor claim in Nevada for $117 million in July 2024 against Simpson's estate. That amount includes the renewed judgments and $20.5 million in interest accrued since the last renewal in 2022. Here's how it works legally. Even though Simpson died in April 24, dying doesn't erase debts. It triggers the probate process. Creditors get to file claims. Judgments can be domesticated, that is, from another state. They can be brought into that jurisdiction where the probate is being held so that it becomes enforceable in that jurisdiction, and that's what Fred Goldman is doing in Nevada. Simpson did have a will. His longtime attorney, Malcolm Laverne, is the executor. Early on, Laverne made public remarks suggesting the estate would resist paying anything to the Goldman family. Later, he reversed course, indicating that the Goldman claim will be accepted and handled under Nevada law. Part of the complication is figuring out what Simpson's estate is really worth, what assets are available, which are protected, which have been transferred, what trusts exist, what liens, what property is inside or outside the estate, etc. Public reports say many valuable items, such as memorabilia, could be auctioned to satisfy creditors. As you might imagine, this is really hard to watch. Ron Goldman's family has waited nearly 30 years for a judgment that they've never seen. The interest alone is worth millions of dollars, and that gets increased every single day. But I imagine that for Fred Goldman, this is about more than money. It's about recognition, accountability, and justice for his son. Well, here are some of the legal lessons we can pull from this case. Firstly, judgments don't disappear. Once a court issues a civil judgment, unless it's paid or overturned, the amount owed continues to accrue interest. Renewals may be needed in some jurisdictions to keep a judgment enforceable. Secondly, estate and probate laws matter deeply. When someone dies, their estate becomes responsible for debts. Creditors like Fred Goldman can file claims against the estate. The executor has a fiduciary duty to evaluate those claims under the state law where probate is taking place. By the way, having a system for creditors to file against an estate is one of the key markers of civilized society. So don't look down your nose at the fact that this process is happening. It is an essential function in a civilized society. All right, moving on. The third lesson we can take from this is trusts and transfers are under scrutiny. If assets are moved into trusts, transferred or hidden, courts and creditors can challenge those moves, especially if they look like they were done to avoid payment of a judgment. The move is called a fraudulent conveyance when you know that you owe a debt, but you refuse to pay it and you move your assets such that they nominally escape the debt. That's a fraudulent conveyance, and courts are permitted to reverse such transactions. The fourth lesson is jurisdiction is important. Fred Goldman had to domesticate the California judgment in Nevada to make it enforceable against Simpson's Nevada estate. Every state has its own rules about probate, creditor claims, and what counts as a valid claim, how interest accrues, and how long it can be enforced. Fifth and final, transparency and executor conduct. An executor has to account for claims, be honest with beneficiaries, and follow law over politics or sentiment. Public statements like "we will pay zero" may win headlines, but legally the executor has to follow the legal process. Eventually, Mr. Laverne did recognize that. The situation with Mr. Simpson's estate shows us that even large sums, even when there are celebrity names involved, can't escape the law forever. The debt doesn't just go away simply because someone is famous or because a lot of time has passed. If you want to make sure your estate obligations are clear, your trusts are properly structured, and that debts or judgments won't come back to haunt your heirs, I'd be glad to help. Reach out to us at Speedwell Law. Thanks for watching.